It's just past 5 o'clock, the deadline just passing for ANC provincial officers to submit names of members tainted by criminal charges. Party Secretary General Ace Magashule, of course, visiting former President Jacob Zuma at Nkandla a little earlier today. You'll remember he said during the 30 days before he's meant to step aside, he'll be consulting former ANC leaders. At the same time, a group of ANC supporters gathered outside Luthuli House in Johannesburg in support of the embattled party SG. Senior political reporter Siphamandla Goge following the story. Let's cross to him for the latest. Gosh, Sipa, there is a lot on the go today. But you have spoken to the ANC spokesperson, Pule Mabe, about this. What did he have to say?
He says they expect that those members who are criminally charged will respect the resolution of the ANC and step aside. But he did tell eNCA that the issue of these guidelines here in terms of implementing the step-aside policy, they are still being processed. Remember, that task was left with the party's Treasurer General Paul Mashatile, so we expect that party structures will be writing to him. Let me tell you that as of 5 o'clock today, eNCA has been able to confirm with the provincial secretary of the ANC in Limpopo, Soviet Lechanyane, who confirmed that they will meet the deadline to submit their list. He said, well, they don't have a long list of names to submit, only few names of those who are criminally charged in Limpopo, including the party's provincial treasurer there, Denim Caesar, and others. We also know for a fact that a province such as KwaZulu-Natal has said that they will meet their deadline. We understand that in Gauteng there seems to be some issues, as we understand that the party has decided to write to the office of the Secretary General, basically asking for some clarity in terms of how to go about implementing this. So I guess we will only know tomorrow in terms of how many provinces have submitted their list and also how many members are contained in that consolidated list. But Pulemabe is adamant that the decision and the resolution of the NEC stands, and he says they expect those who are affected to comply. Let's listen to him.
I was trying to just outline some of the key pointers coming out of the guidelines and procedures on the implementation of National Conference resolution on ANC credibility and integrity, dealing with corruption and on fighting crime and corruption. Because there are 4 critical points that really guide us on this approach, which is also part of the engagements that are really happening with provinces and all of that, so that there is no confusion. That you step aside following indictment on criminal charges, temporary suspension following indictment on criminal charges. The third one is temporary suspension pending ANC disciplinary processes following indictment on criminal charges, and then dealing with allegations of corruption or serious crime.
And I think that clarity is important, because there was a fair amount of confusion earlier today with some saying, well, what if you've been accused? That's not where the step-aside rule kicks in. You actually have to be indicted. In other words, you have to be charged, you have to have appeared in court, and there needs to be a clear indictment. Am I right?
Indeed, that is the case, and I think what has added to that confusion is the letter that was circulated by the Secretary General of the ANC to party structures, basically telling provincial secretaries to compile these lists, but also he is being accused of widening the scope there, including those who are implicated or alleged to have been done some wrongdoings. Now, it's clear, according to the NEC resolution, that it's those who've been criminally charged for now. Earlier on, Soviet Lechanyane telling eNCA that they've decided not to include the names of those who are implicated, only those who've been criminally charged.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, of course, because the person that there are 2 people that we look to when we say ANC and criminally charged in the same sentence. And the first, of course, is former President Jacob Zuma, and then, of course, Ace Magashule. And the 2 met today in Nkandla. In our headlines, of course, we had that clip of Ace Magashule saying he's feeling fresh. But tell us a little bit more about that meeting and what he had to say.
It's a continuation of that engagement, which was given blessings by the NEC of the ANC that Ace Magashule must undertake. He has already met with the party's former Treasurer General Matthew Posa. He was meeting with former President Jacob Zuma today in Nkandla. He is political ally, by the way, and many people were saying, well, it's going to be an interesting discussion between the 2 of them, as we know that former President Jacob Zuma is going back to court on the 17th of May, if I'm not mistaken. That's when his criminal trial is set to get underway. Both of them are facing political and legal challenges, but after this, Ace Magashule will be meeting with former President Thabo Mbeki as well as former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe. These are stalwarts of the ANC. He is trying to get counsel in terms of how to go about implementing this difficult resolution of the ANC. Some people were questioning the motive behind this consultation process to say, what's the point? Because the resolution has been taken, it's being implemented. These consultations are not going to change anything. But let's listen to what Ace Magashule said after the meeting.
The ANC is not for the first time going through such conditions, challenges. Leaders of the ANC, like myself, I'm not that leader who will walk away from the ANC and form another political party. Not me. I will remain and I will die in the African National Congress. Whatever circumstances, whatever happens, I will die in the African National Congress. I will never form another political party. That's how disciplined I am, and that's how I understand the ANC, of which I've been part of in the revolution, not joined it yesterday.
Sipha, to your knowledge, has there been any statement after that meeting about whether he's going to adhere to the rule that he should step aside because he ticks those boxes that you mentioned? Any word on that?
Well, not yet. I mean, I think he's maintaining the same stance and the same line that he's been maintaining, that wait and see. I remember a few weeks ago asking him directly whether will you be stepping aside. He said, well, wait and see, and also read the guidelines in total. Do not be selective, because Ace Magashule seems to suggest that even those who are alleged to be involved in any wrongdoings should step aside, those who are implicated. Hence, we saw his supporters today from the Free State province marching to Lutuli House, carrying placards with the pictures and names of some of the party's leaders, including President Cyril Ramaphosa there, Senzo Mchunu, I think Gwede Mantashe was there as well, Malusi Kikaba. So it remains to be seen whether he will be stepping aside. But let's listen to what Pule Mabe said in that regard about what will happen now moving forward.
After deciding to step aside, the member, office bearer or public representative must approach the Secretary General or NWC, the Provincial Secretary or PWC, whichever the case may be, to inform them of her or his decision to step aside. The Secretary General or Provincial Secretary, NWC or PWC, acting on the authority of the NEC, the NWC, the PEC or the PWC, whichever case may be, may impose terms and conditions to regulate the participation and conduct of a member, office bearer or public representative during the period that he or she steps aside. The decision by a member, office bearer or public representative to step aside does not remove her or his obligation to account to the Integrity Commission immediately if he or she has been accused of or reported to be involved in corrupt practices or face disciplinary processes. If a member, office bearer or public representative fails to step aside, the SG or NWC, the PS or Provincial Working Committee, whichever the case may be, may refer the matter to the Integrity Commission for it to consider and make recommendations to the NEC or PEC.
All right, so that 5 p.m. deadline has passed. As you mentioned earlier, the lists are starting to come in now, but you're saying we probably will only hear the full picture tomorrow.
Indeed, we expect to hear the full picture tomorrow because, remember, the Secretary General is still in KZN, and we understand that Jesse Duarte is busy with other engagements. So the office of the Secretary General will only be able to consolidate those lists this evening and tomorrow morning, and then they will have to meet with the officials of the ANC, take that list to the National Working Committee of the ANC. So the process will just be starting as of tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much for that update, Siphamandla Goge.